Yo, this is Fitness 65 bringing you a new video. I was trying to upload a video earlier today, but my camera was acting up, so I'm here trying to make another video now. Really, I wasn't sure what video I was going to do, whether it was going to be a Wrestling Forgotten Gems, since I haven't made those videos in a while, or I was going to make a video about a top 10, a redone video about my worst top 10 fighting games of all time. I decided I was just gonna do my worst top 10, my top 10 worst fighting games of all time video, and then I'll do the Wrestling Forgotten Gems video like sometime Monday or something like that, or Tuesday, because I got other things tying me up. So that's why I make videos like maybe one or 2 days, one day, and then the next 2 days or something I don't make a video. So let's get started with this video. My worst top 10 fighting games of all time. This is just a redone video of that same video that I did a while back, which was my worst top 10 fighting games of all time. I had that video uploaded, but I deleted it because I didn't like how that video came out, and I got a lot of hate on that video, and I got like 2 stars or something like that from that video because I guess people didn't agree and they found that those games were good, but I just thought that was just my opinion. I thought those games were just awful, and that's one of the reasons why I said those games were on that list and why they were so bad. But I'm redoing this video because I felt I needed to redo that video, and like I said, I didn't like how that video turned out. So let's get started with this video. And this is going to another one of my top 10 videos because I've been doing wrestling videos and video response videos. So I'm just gonna make a top 10 video return of my top 10 videos. So this is gonna be, well, top 10 of whatever I talk about. So let's get started with this video of my top 10 worst video fighting games of all time. We start off at number 10 of the worst fighting game of all time, which is Balls. This game was terrible. The controls were so bad in this game. I mean, controlling your fighter was like controlling an old man. That's what it, or controlling like or controlling like a robot, a slow robot. That's what it felt like when you played this game. Is it was just awful. The music sounded like a bad porno music. They had a lot of advertisement in this game, which didn't make no sense at all, and I just can't go into depth of how bad this game is. This has to be one of the worst games of all time, but you got to give the creators of this game credit for trying to do something new and try to do something with 3D, even though many fighting games weren't really trying to use 3D yet in their games. Balls was the one that tried to do it, and they failed miserably, but it was a good idea for what it sounded at that time, and but it ended up falling flat on its ass, and that's why it's on the number 10 list of my worst fighting games of all time. Number 9 is Time Killers for the Sega Genesis, not the arcade port, because the arcade port of this game was actually pretty good. But when you play the Sega Genesis port of this game, oh man, this game was just terrible. The music was worse than the arcade music, even though the arcade music wasn't that bad. The controls were just so bad and awkward. They were unresponsive at times, and it just made you just want to throw the controller. That's how bad the controls were. And the graphics for this game, for this port, was just terrible. I know Sega Genesis can make better graphics than that. I mean, it's 16-bit, but they can come up with better graphics than that. But they didn't, and thus you got some shitty, I don't even know what you would call those kind of graphics for a fighting game like that. But yeah, that's what you got for that fighting game. Just an awful fighting game, and I just don't recommend that game at all. Just play the arcade port of Time Killers, as that was a really good game, and you'll get your money's worth, and you'll get everything that was missing in the Sega Genesis version. Number 8 is Double Dragon 5 for the SNES. This was supposed to be, they were trying to like copy Street Fighter and try to emulate the success of Street Fighter, but they failed miserably with this game, as the music is terrible in this game. They didn't even try with the graphics in this game. The controls in this game is just so unresponsive at times, to the point where you just go, what the hell, what the fuck were they thinking when they didn't fix the controls in this game? The announcer sounds like he's bored out of his mind, which I'd be too if I was associated myself with this game, and the AI just doesn't just doesn't is unfair at this in this game, as it doesn't give you any chances at all. You try to get one hit on it, but the AI just dominates you completely, and you don't want to play a game where the AI just owns you completely and you only get like 3 hits off of it. And I believe the cheapest character they had on here was a cross between Dalsum and I believe Blanco, or Dalsum and M Bison. And if you use him, then and you could just spam people with whatever power move he has. But yeah, this game was just awful. One of the worst games ever. Don't know why they even bothered making this game, as this was the game that almost ended the Double Dragon. Well, kind of put a damper in the Double Dragon franchise until they revitalized it with the Game Boy Advance game. But still, just a piss poor game. Awful. The seventh game on here is Street Fighter 1. Street Fighter 1 was the game that started the whole Street Fighter trend, as you will see a bunch of sequels to Street Fighter, but this was the game that started it all. It wasn't that bad of a game. I mean, it's still bad, but still, I mean, it was a bad game. I mean, there was some parts of it that were good, but the game was just still bad overall. The controls were just so awful in this game, as you would try to do one special move and it would just take so many button mashing just to do that one special move, and that's just frustrating. And then of course you had the AI, which is unfair in this game. The music is unfair. I mean, the music is pretty bad in this game, and also the announcer, you can't understand what he says. It's like hearing a computer just mashing everything that it's trying to say in something, and that's pretty much what this game was just awful. But it pretty much set the trend of Street Fighter, so I don't know what you would say, but still, this is a bad game. But it still did help. It still did help the Street Fighter series, and this was the game that originated from it. But still, a bad game. Justice League Task Force number 6. This game was bad. The controls were horrible in this game. The music was just awful in this game. The plot was just ridiculous, and it was just so cliche and anticlimactic. I don't know. I mean, it was just so anticlimactic that you would see that more in other video games, but it was just still an awful plot, and everything else was just so horrible in this game. Probably one of the worst fighting games that I ever played, and I suggest you stay away from it. Number 5 is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighter for the Sega Genesis. Another one of those games that had so much potential, because the SNES version was pretty good. The It had just about everything you would want from a fighting game, but the Sega Genesis version of this game was just awful. I mean, the AI is unfair, as the AI would do like 2-3 hits on you, and it would take like half of your damage away from you. The controls are just so awkward and clunky. The music is okay in this game, but the fun factor just goes way down with the AI, and I can't play a game where the AI just dominates you like that. Just terrible. Number 4 is Street Fighter the movie. This game was just pretty bad. The controls were pretty bad. The music was awful, as I believe there's only 3 songs in this game, and they all go on different stages. The graphics, I mean the set layouts and the backgrounds were just awful. Something reminiscent of a Mortal Kombat game, and overall just a really bad game. Stay away from it. Number 3 is Rise of the Robots for the SNES. Just a boring game, not fun at all. AI completely owns you. There's nothing you can do, no specials, just a terrible game. And then number 2 is Kasumi Ninja. Awful game, terrible plot line, awful controls, bad gameplay, and that's pretty much it, which is why this is a bad game. And then number 1, Shaq Fu for any system, the Sega Genesis or the SNES. Just a bad game overall. Awful controls, awful music. Some of the characters are too cliche, and just overall just not a fun game. And yeah, that's pretty much it for my top 10 worst fighting games of all time. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Rate, comment, give me your thoughts about the worst fighting game. Give me your thoughts of some of the worst fighting games that you ever played, and I'll see you whenever I upload another video. Until then,